Alright, so, anyway, I'm Lonnie with Untitled Nerd Network, and, this is going to be a loaded video. For like a week plus, there has been an enormous amount of backlash on the French film Cuties that is on Netflix now. And, so, there's been a lot of uh, QAnon type stuff, Hollywood pedophilia and things like that. So I decided, because one of the main things that I had heard on the reviews and a lot of the online hate that this movie's getting is a lot of these people were going off of two things: a trailer that Netflix put out and a poster. So a lot of the people who had actually seen the movie described it as very good, a great movie. And so my thought was, you know what? I'm not going to jump on any other bandwagons until I sit down and watch this movie myself. So today I had a free afternoon. So I decided, what the heck? We're going to sit down, I'm going to watch this movie, and we're going to come to our own conclusion in regards to this film. I took freaking notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages of notes as I watched this film. Okay, first off, the girl's name is spelled Amy, but I guess her name is Ami. Muslim, 11-year-old girl of color. A black girl who lives with her mother, great aunt, and two younger siblings in a poor Paris neighborhood. This could easily be any low-income family in the entire world. This could have just as easily happened in America. Like if you didn't see some of the if you didn't see some of the background, some of the environment, things like that, I would have easily thought this was like New York City or something. So this could have happened anywhere. The movie does a great job immediately of starting out, establishing the Muslim roots, the highly conservative ideology with the mother. The mother takes her daughter to attend Muslim prayer groups, all women prayer groups, things like that. The mother doesn't really seem to give a whole lot of attention to Ami, and the movie does a good job of laying the groundwork on her environment, her family, her home, her family environment. She ends up seeing this clique of girls called Cuties, which is where the movie gets its name. They're dancing, doing it. Just think the movie Step Up with preteen girls, 11-year-old girls. Step Up. That's what you have with these girls. They dance a lot, everything. So, Ami ends up stealing a cell phone from her cousin, her male cousin, and ends up watching a lot of internet, gets exposed to social media. There's a lot of scenes in here where the girls, preteens, mind you, and I'm sure this is very, very accurate when talking about what actual preteens are doing now in the age of the internet. But these girls are looking up a lot of online pornography, and if I remember anything about when I was 11, I didn't know a freaking thing about sex, and that was the age before the internet. And so they're throwing a lot of misconceptions around, and giggling and doing all that stuff. So basically what 11-year-olds do. 11-year-olds don't really know anything about anything, but they go a lot on rumor and hearsay. So she ends up she starts out as an outcast. The girls even throw rocks at her at one point, but she really wants to be a part of this group after seeing some of this stuff online and seeing the kind of reactions that they get. And then they end up watching a video where there's this other dance troupe of girls their age. One of them, and this is one of the big parts that a lot of the people are just pissed off about. And there is a part where they're watching this video of these other preteen girls, and right at the very tail end of the dance video, one of the girls like lifts her hand or something like that, and her right breast pops out, and they leave that in the video. And a lot of people will complain about, that's fucked up. Yes, it is. It's very fucked up. But the movie does a good job of explaining why this is shown. Regardless, I'm not going to get into any kind of Hollywood pedophile conspiracy theories or whatever. This movie, whatever it shows, does so for a reason. A good reason. And that comes into play later in the movie. I'm seriously having to go through these. I'm going to go ahead and say this was a great movie. Not one of my favorite movies, but one of the better movies I've seen this year, all things considered, with COVID and everything going on. So they're, they make it a point to show that, hey, nudity gets likes. And whether you want to admit it or not, that's the case in the world. That really is the case. And it doesn't matter whether you're, 19 or 30. There's a reason why when the pandemic started and everybody got locked down and couldn't work, that the number of OnlyFans accounts shot up through the freaking roof, because sex sells. And sex sells whether you're 22 or apparently whether you're 12, and that's messed up. But it's the truth, and this movie illustrates that without glorifying it at all. And that's the problem. People have watched this movie, the trailer, I'm going to go ahead and fault Netflix for this. See the two posters here to my right, which is on the left side of the screen. The one on the left with the French name, that is the original poster. The one right here that I'm pointing at is the Netflix poster that was immediately taken down because Netflix was marketing this in a way that they assumed, and they were probably rightfully so, that would get views. This poster here is not a good indication at all of this movie. That right there is not an indication of this film. This movie had zero glamour about it. The movie had zero positive spin on the world of provocative preteen dance. But for some reason, Netflix did this because they knew that people were going to watch it. Because perversion and sex, even when dealing with underage girls, disgustingly sells. And there we have it. So that's my takeaway from the marketing here. So they do a really good job of showing that Ami, when she gets hooked up with this dance group, totally starts forsaking her responsibilities at home. Her mother might as well be a single mother. Her father is off in another country and has taken a second wife who the entire movie is spent building up to the return of her father with his second wife, and they're going to have a marriage, and the mother is not happy at all with this. Ami ends up, eavesdropping while hiding under her mother's bed, that she's not, she hears her mother just crying that her husband is taking a second wife and is getting ready to come home with her and is going to share the apartment. And Ami, this really is kind of like the catalyst to get all this rolling. It gets the boulder rolling down the hill. And so the movie kind of builds to this. She becomes obsessed with dancing, begins forsaking responsibilities. It even gets to the point where she's watching twerking videos, like very suggestive bare butt twerking videos online on this stolen phone. She steals the phone from her cousin. And she watches them. She even has a drape, a cloth over her, and she's watching them during a all-female prayer service, Muslim prayer service. So that tells you how bad it gets. Her father calls at one point, wants to talk to her, and there in front of her mother, she hangs the phone, which is a landline, out the window and drops it. She doesn't want to talk to her father. She's had enough. And in a way, you can kind of understand where she's coming from. There's all kind of, the movie is classic, paints a portrait of classic preteen misinformation. Like, they find a used condom sitting, out. There's this little place where they hang out. And they find a used condom on the ground, and one of the girls is like, looking at it and everything, and all the girls are like, "Oh my God, you have cancer, you have AIDS from touching the condom," and they like take her to like one of their houses and are like scrubbing her face and her tongue and her hands with soap and all this other stuff, and it's just like, oh my God. So it does an excellent job of painting a portrait of the ignorance of preteen youth when it comes to things of this nature, and it does a really good job of showing, hey, they don't know what they don't know anything about it, So it's. I probably should have done a little bit better preparation for this review because I'm having a hard time finding the words for some of this stuff. They end up practicing quite a bit. They make it a big point to show that all the parents are absentee parents in this movie. And that's a big part of how these girls get so mixed up in the stuff that they're getting mixed up in. The mother finally starts to figure some stuff out around the hour and 6-minute mark of a 90-minute movie. The mother, I guess, is exhausted to the point caring for 3 kids, working a job, having a husband who's getting ready to be married to a second woman, that kind of thing, and she eventually faints while serving dinner to her kids. And that kind of shows from the parents' point of view. There comes a time where her cousin comes home. Ami's cousin comes home, is visiting. He sees the phone that Ami has, figures out, hey, that's my phone. She begins to get undressed to try to smooth things over with her cousin, and he is like, what the fuck? And rightfully so. And so she, when that doesn't work, she realizes, hey, he's not going for it. She locks herself in the bathroom and immediately pulls her pants down, takes a photo of herself, this nude area, and posts it to social media. And it isn't long before things really kind of get set off from there. Of course, everybody at school sees it. She's walking up. She gets called on in class. She walks up, to the front to show a math problem on the board. A boy who is sitting at his desk slaps her on the butt. And she turns around and is like yelling at him. He starts calling her a slut, starts telling everybody in the classroom, including the teacher, that she posted provocative photos on social media. And then Ami actually grabs a pencil and stabs the kid's hand down to the desk. And that's when everything kind of gets set off, and the mother is slapping her and yelling at her, and it gets really uncomfortable to watch for the next little bit. And so her clique, the Cuties, ends up being they end up having a really big backlash. They don't want to be with her anymore. There's a girl who kind of got kicked out of the group when they brought Ami in, named Yasmin. She ends up getting brought back into the group because nobody wants to be around obsessive, posting porn online Ami anymore. And so when the dance competition comes around, Ami hides, waits for Yasmin to come walking up next to like this canal with water in it. She pushes Yasmin off into the water and runs off in her dance outfit. And the Cuties group immediately accepts her back, as fickle as preteen girls can be. Like, oh, we hated you all ago, but we're friends now. All this happens while while everybody is preparing for the wedding of her father to the second wife. So they get up there, they start dancing in front of the crowd, and the crowd, because this is a bunch of preteen girls dancing very provocatively, begins to boo them. While that's happening, some confetti that had been spilled onto Ami's head earlier while she was at the prep for the wedding kind of, dusts down. She sees it and just completely has a mental breakdown there on the stage. Runs off, runs back home. Her great aunt just totally unloads on her. Spoilers, by the way, for the ending of this, in case you haven't figured that out by now. Her great aunt just totally unloads on her, starts calling her a whore and all this stuff. And her mother kind of comes to the realization, I think, of what is going on. Like, hey, we're all in this together. I've kind of let everything go as far as, parenting at this point. I see where you're coming from. Let's work things out, and her mother's like, if you don't want to come to this wedding, you don't have to. And they go down to the wedding, and the movie ends with Ami not going to the wedding, and instead she gets into just some regular old clothes, jeans and a shirt, goes down. There's a bunch of kids playing outside in the street. She goes down and starts jumping rope with some kids. And for the first time in a while, you see a genuine smile come to her face. And part of this movie, I think, what I took away from it is there's the extreme conservatives out there who, are pushing religion or pushing all of these things. Then there's the pedophilia type dance troupes and the sexualization of minors and all this. And then there's somewhere in the middle, and that's where she ends up, thankfully. I was happy to see at least somewhat of a happy ending for this movie for the main character. And this movie, anyone who downgrades this movie, yes, there are some uncomfortable parts in this film, but that's the point. It doesn't illustrate them with any kind of positivity. It basically paints both extremes in a bad light and shows that in the end, just let kids be kids. And I think that's the biggest takeaway that I got from this film. And if you haven't seen it, I urge you to watch this film and get your own takeaway from it. And that's really the best thing I have for this, is watch it yourself. Don't judge this film based off of trailers and promotional art that wants to paint a narrative one way or the other. Watch the film yourself. Make your own decision. Leave a comment below. I'm Lonnie with Untitled Nerd Network. Thanks for watching.